Well, hello everybody. Thank you very much for attending this talk. I will guarantee one thing, it may not be educational, but it will be entertaining. So the first thing is we have to realize that the future is now. We're already seeing these crazy buildings coming out. This is one from Singapore. We're seeing artificial intelligence and human-like robots already sticking around. So when we're designing, we need to be thinking in this very innovative way. So by way of introduction, my name's Nikki Greenberg. I'm an architect by trade. And when I finished business school, I went into real estate development. So I've very much come from the bricks and mortar side of the industry. These are a couple of projects that I worked on during my career. Mixed-use master plan developments. And the thing about them is that what we design today is going to be built and complete in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. But really these developments need to be able to serve the community well into the future. So our decisions today need to be designing for the future. And that's what this talk is all about. Now I run a group for women in PropTech because really PropTech is the future of the real estate industry. So what I'm going to talk about as a start is a little bit about innovation and disruption. So when we talk about innovation, what innovation is that it's a new idea or a new product. Whereas disruption is something that's just absolutely mind-blowing, it changes everything, is a real groundbreaker. So I'm going to give you an example of a disruptor in the construction industry, which all of us know about, and as an architect, definitely impacted on the way that my career happened. So in architecture and construction, we all used to do drafting by hand. You know, the good old saying, back to the drawing board. We've been doing this for a very, very long time. Then it became 2D CAD, which meant that we could collaborate digitally. We didn't have to print everything off. We could have different team members plugging in and make changes very accurately. You no longer needed to be able to draw. You didn't even know how to make a straight line. The machines could do it for you. Then it became 3D CAD. Then it became BIM. And now we're talking about digital twins. So this is an example of disruption through technology. Keeps going on and on and on. So let me ask the audience here, what was the last major disruption through technology to real estate? Any takers? Everyone's saying steel or concrete. Well, that's part of it. The other part of it is elevators. Because what elevators allowed us to do, along with steel and concrete, I know we have a lot of people here that are pro-concrete, what elevators let us do is build up, because there's no way that you could go to the top of a 50-story building unless you had a way to get there. And what this ultimately meant is that we can build cities up instead of out. We could have transportation hubs. So this has fundamentally changed the way that our cities operate to allow for density. Just some pretty pictures as a breaker. This is where it gets fun. So let's talk about some crazy innovative buildings. This is a concept designed by a firm called Archigram, and it's called Walking Cities. And the idea is that a building is a machine and it's an ecosystem. So rather than having your food come to you, your building can go out into the field and find food. Wasn't built, unfortunately. Buckminster Fuller, you can see these photos over here of black and white. It didn't just predate CAD, but it actually predated color photography. This is how far into the future he was. And what Buckminster Fuller was looking at is using geometry to use materials and spaces efficiently. So he did this through paper mathematics. So think about what we can do with the technology that we have today. This is a typo. This should be Frank Lloyd Wright, America's darling, known for the prairie-style architecture. As you can see, even he was thinking about spaceships and things flying around. Singapore, smart city and the beautiful design along the Marina Bay. The Eden Project in the UK, we have these beautiful spherical structures kind of dotted along the landscape. Here the materials are a way of insulating the buildings, and it really integrates in a way that is just really exquisite. Zaha Hadid, a well-known futuristic architect, thinking about how buildings should look like in the future with a very sinuous form. Renzo Piano, French architect. This is a style known as high-tech architecture. And what he did at the Centre Pompidou in Paris, he took the building's mechanisms, the circulation, the construction, he put on the outside of the building where you can see it. You can understand the way that the machine works, rather than hiding it like we do traditionally. Koichi Takada, an architect that I worked for in Australia, this building here is nicknamed the Blade Runner building because it looks so futuristic. Frank Gehry with his beautiful sinuous curves and a way of using titanium, a metal, in a new and innovative way. Uber Elevate. This is one example from a design competition that they ran recently. And what's happening with Uber is that they are developing drones that carry people that are going to be a taxi service. Now think about what this means for buildings. They believe that it will be operational by 2023. So now you're going to be able to get from one transportation hub, such as a airport, into the city or to a building. You're going to land on the top and you're going to enter the building from the top. What does this mean when you enter a building from the top? How are we designing for it? The future is now. They expect that these taxis are going to be operating by 2023. We're not talking in somebody else's lifetime. We're talking about now. So, this is where it gets even more fun. So the thing is, and this is what I'd like to stress to everyone here, is that to create the future, first you must imagine it. And who's better at imagining the future than cartoonists? Now, if you've heard of the Jetsons, can you put up your hand? All right, about half the audience. So for those of you who don't know the Jetsons, it was a cartoon that was around in 1962. And it was a nuclear family that lived in 2062. So the cartoonists here were imagining what is the world going to be like 100 years into the future. So let's see what they got right, let's see what they got wrong, and let's see where we're ahead of our time. So this is what they imagined a school might look like, up on stilts, with the little sun flying in to get to school every single day. This is Los Angeles International Airport in a style called Googie architecture. This is George, the husband, goes to work, puts his feet up, doesn't seem to be working very hard. This is work for us today. We don't even go into work. We can work on the cloud. Everything's stored in a data center. This is Judy, the wife, looking rather bored, working out at home on a TV screen. This is Mirror, where you can actually look into a mirror that's a screen and also work out at home. Here, someone's watching a TV on their watch. Whereas for us today, our watches do so much more than just act as a screen. They're mini computers. An encyclopedia in the palm of your hand. Whereas today we have the internet and encyclopedias such as Wikipedia. So we're ahead of what they even imagined. 1962, they imagined you might have a machine where you push buttons and pull levers, and this is how you make breakfast. Today we have Thermomix. Or you order in on your iPad. They imagined a robot maid, a little bit sexist in a French maid outfit, but, such is the future. Today we have Roomba. You might have a dog and your robot dog. Today we have a whole variety of robot dogs available, anywhere from $17.50 on Amazon, all the way through to almost $9,000 through Sony. So it's quite interesting to see that if you imagine it, it can come true. But there is a point that I do want to get across when we're talking about all this technology and what it might mean for us. And it comes down a little bit to what's happening in this picture. You can see even in 2062, they imagine that you'll still keep your real dog. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a robot. we're not designing for the machines, we're designing for the people that are going to be using this technology. And that's something that we want to keep in mind. So, for the rest of this session, we're going to make it a little bit interactive, which means you're going to have to turn to the person next to you and start discussing things in a moment. So I'll run through what the questions are, and then when we get to after about 10 minutes of discussion, I'm going to invite some brave volunteer up to the stage to describe to me what was discussed. I already see a couple of people leaving the room as a result. This might be a little bit of a problem. I'm going to pick on you and you. Not you, you. All right. So everybody, close your eyes. We're going to have to use your imagination. If you remember what your imagination is, close your eyes, everybody. Use your imagination. Take a deep breath. Put your phones down. There's nothing to photograph now. This is all about breathing in. Take a moment. So the year is 2030. It's only 10 years away. We own nothing. We share everything. And we carry nothing on us. Access, IDs, payments. Everything's through biodata. All communication is via apps, and we no longer gather. And robots are everywhere. This is where the future's heading. So imagine what this might look like. Imagine the types of buildings, the types of spaces, the types of interactions that you'll have with people. Imagine what this future is like and what buildings will be like when robots take over. So you can open your eyes now, but I'd like you to hold on to that thought. So these are just a couple of images that were put together by a 3D artist just in Photoshop to throw some ideas around. And these are ideas that she had of what the future might look like. You can have a whole variety of buildings. You can have drones flying around, delivery robots coming through the streets, self-driving cars, every type of technology. But unfortunately, you might not have people coming through the streets because everything's being delivered. An interior might take a different shape. You might have a plethora of screens to look at. You might be working out at home, surveillance equipment, the latest and fastest Wi-Fi imaginable, every type of robot device as a pet, as a friend, as a servant. So what I'd like you to do now is, I think people do tend to be clustered together, but if you're not clustered together, I'd like you to spend the next 10 minutes thinking and discussing, what do you see, what do you feel, and what is the impact of this type of a future? So I'm going to give you 10 minutes, so huddle together and discuss these questions. Excuse me.
First we get to have interaction. Super nice.
Yeah. Righty. All right. Now, who are my brave volunteers? Who are my brave? Put up your hand if you're a volunteer to come up on stage. Where are my volunteers? Where? Well, if I don't have volunteers, I'm going to pick on the people still talking. All right. Who do we have? Who least wants to be picked to come up? You. Come on up. Yes, you are. You're one. Who else? You over there. You're trying not to make eye contact. I see you. Come on up. No? Yeah, you. Me. Can we turn this on? Alrighty. You're going to have to share the mic. Now, if you can introduce, no sales pitches, please, but introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you do without doing a sales pitch, please.
My name is Palle. I'm from Denmark. I work with smart buildings. That wasn't a pitch.
Very good.
My name is Karolina Kajander. I work in 720 and we monitor the indoor environments and how it affects people.
Fantastic. So, let me start with you. We're going to grill you. So, what was your discussion around what these images are?
So we talked about, at least that was my opinion, I'm not sure with my friend I talked to, but anyway, that human interaction is difficult to replace. So perhaps only in a scenario where we can make VR so immersive that it feels like being with someone else. Could I imagine that we're not going to the workplace every day or seeing our friends? So we can never underestimate the value of direct human interaction.
And what is the value of direct interaction that you're not going to get from VR? Because, I'm pretty antisocial.
Yes, I don't know. I hated working from home 20 years ago. I hate working from home today. So I want to go to the office. I want to be with people, have a coffee, chit-chat. I don't know. I think we're human beings. We want to be together.
We want to be together.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that?
Well, I love all the VR games and VR experiences. For example, I have been climbing in the Mount Everest in a VR game, so it was amazing. And actually we didn't have so much discussion about the VR world, but about all the, if you don't carry anything with you, you have all the identity, you have all the money, everything is in a chip inside of your body, and how does that affect in your everyday life?
So what do you think the impact of all this technology is going to be on society in a broader sense? Do you not have this is for you, this is for you.
Thank you.
So, in the sense of technology costs money and it's not accessible to everybody. So how do you see this playing out by 2030?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, so by 2030, technology's changed pretty quickly. So we don't actually know where it's going to go. Because we didn't know 10 years ago that we were going to be where we are now. But what's happening with technology is that there's a cost to it, and it's being designed for people that can afford it. Not everyone's going to have access to it. Only the sophisticated developers will be able to, and people that can afford to have it are going to have it. But people are going to miss out. Where do you see things going? What do you think some of the solutions might be?
Oh my God, I have no answer. Do you have something?
No. This is where you have to use the imagination part of your brain that's gone to sleep.
Grilling. Well, first of all, I'm happy to say I live in Finland, yes, because this is a very equal country, so I don't see that happening in Finland. Or at least you will have some kind of possibilities for the people who doesn't have money or can't afford it. You will have some kind of level, and then for the people with more money or who can afford it, maybe they have something more luxuries. But I don't see it happening to be in so different situations.
Fantastic. I want to be in Finland.
Well, I think we're seeing the reaction around the world to this. Inequality has never been, well, maybe it has, but it hasn't been bigger since the World War II. And I think we, the elite, needs to deal with that. I think we will see change. I think what's happening in Hong Kong, what's happening around the globe is a reaction to that. And we can't, from Finland or Denmark, where I'm from, we can't just keep ignoring that. because it's going to blow up in our faces.
Excellent. Do you have a response to that? No. All right. Last chance for anybody from the audience. If you have any questions for our two brave volunteers over here, the harder it is, the better. Challenge them. You have everybody that's attending the conference is here for a reason. That's why I invite people up on stage, because everybody in the audience, you're all very educated in what you do. Grill them. Give them a hard time. Now's your chance. No brave volunteers? Alrighty. I'll let you guys finish up. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you had a good time. I hope you've been inspired. I hope you'll keep watching cartoons. And I think my next presentation that I give, for those of us who have been around for a little while, I was showing one of the vendors earlier, there's that Simpsons episode where Homer goes into 3D land. Does anyone remember that one? Who raise your hand if you remember that episode? No one remembers it? I think there's a lot we can learn about cartoons, It's the thing is, and I think the point that I'd like to get across to you all is two things, If you imagine it, you can build it. The crazier, the wackier it is, it's all possible. We have the technology, we have the appetite. We don't need to follow a fixed formula. We can be imaginative about it. But I think the thing we also need to be conscious of at the same time when we're coming up with solutions that have technology is that we need to be very conscious of what we're doing. We need to remember that we're designing for people, we're designing for the environment, we're designing for more than just the occupants of the building. We want to be able to be additive and design a future that we all want to be part of. So thank you very much for participating, and especially for our brave volunteers. Thank you.